Ready?
Ready.
Ready.
I love it. We have a third ready. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of Snitchin'. It's your host, Kristen.
And Brittany, get ready for the best part of your day.
Hey guys,
And we
it's
also have our
Tina.
friend Tina here.
We are so excited to have you. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you guys so much. No, it's exciting. It's weird to be on a Zoom call with your friends during a work day, but I'm here for it. I love it. It's great to see some friendly faces. So thanks for having me.
Mhm.
Yeah, Brittany was just saying it's much better than a work call. And it's also like a little bit of 5 years ago, COVID times, when people would just like
Ugh,
hang out with their friends on Zoom, but like a fun
yeah.
one, not like how those were, you know?
Yeah, I'm not trying to get drunk on Zoom and do happy hours and baby showers on Zoom ever again.
That was the pass. Let's
Yeah,
leave it there.
totally.
Yes, agreed.
We were also mentioning that Tina has actually been brought up on the pod before, one of our very first episodes. I think maybe
Oh,
in the
yeah.
first five. We talked about her bachelorette party. Tina just got married this summer, and the bachelorette was so much fun. It was at a
So fun.
casino, Foxwoods. Honestly, like I'm a casino girl now. That's where you got to do the bachelorette, ladies. It's one place, it's easy peasy, so much to do. We had so much fun.
hmm
We
I
have to
converted
do
you.
it once a year. We just have to. As a friend
Yeah.
group, it was needed. It wasn't just my bachelorette. I think it was self-care for every single person that was there. We've all been
Yeah.
through so much in many different capacities. We're at many different points of our lives, even though we're a great close-knit friend group, we're all experiencing different things, and we just needed a moment. We all needed a
Yeah.
moment, and it was perfect. So agreed, but definitely need to get back to the once a year girls trips.
No,
Yeah.
cosign.
I
Yeah.
need to go in the winter though, because it's like you're just kind of stuck inside the whole day, which is fine, but
Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
That's a good point. It's like you wouldn't even really know that it's the winter time. I'm a big proponent of like you have to go away. If you're going to take a trip, I think honestly the best month to do it is February and kind of in the middle of
Mm.
February because
Mm,
you've made it through, holidays, there's some charm to the weather, so it's not as brutal. January you're kind of like, "Oh, this is getting a little long." And then that February break, if you can just get a little bit of like a mini
oh, I know.
vacay, exactly what you need.
We used to do that. Remember, we used to do Maine
Oh
and New
yeah.
Hampshire like around that time. It's time to bring
Yes.
it back, gals. We just need an organizer. We need someone to volunteer as tribute. I'll be but we need just like a strong-handed organizer that's going to get this through. So, for all
Yes.
those friends that are listening, you're going to receive a text.
Yeah, one of you guys should do it. I'll weigh in. I'll
Nosies.
give my thoughts and feedback. But yeah, what are we going to talk about today? I feel like I need you to explain what your job is because it's like way over my head.
I got you. I got you. Well, actually, one of the funniest things too I was thinking about is I just came from the Democratic Governors Association event. So it's literally an event that was based here in Boston. Every quarter, it's in a different location. Companies can get access and membership to these events. I myself work for DoorDash. So we're part of kind of a tech industry that's part of these events. And so there's governors from all over the country, Democratic, of course. So, we had Maura Healey there today. We had Janet Mills from Maine. We had Governor Dan McKee from Rhode Island. We had Governor Kathy Hochul from New York. So just like a great group of individuals, a lot of tea on what the party's
Ooh.
looking at future forward, and then just like priorities. And one of them specifically was about women in life sciences and the importance of female health, right? And I know we're going to be talking about that today too. So I just thought it was kind of a perfect opportunity to talk about politics,
hmm
lobbying, and what this month is, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month as well, too. So, backing up a small bit, I've been at DoorDash for 5 years. I'm the government relations manager for New England, which I think is the best region to have, not only because, it's gorgeous all year round to travel to the different state houses in the region, but you're dealing with a pretty rational group of folks when it comes to elected officials that you can really have a conversation with. And so at DoorDash as a government relations manager or as some people call it, a lobbyist. I meet with elected officials and I advocate for DoorDash. So I advocate for not just the business, the technology platform, but I advocate for consumers that use DoorDash. I advocate for dashers, the individuals who deliver meals from, a restaurant to the doorstep of someone who ordered. I advocate for merchants. So those are our restaurant and our retail partners. And so I meet with elected officials and I say, hey, this law or this proposed law would negatively impact the technology platform, consumers, restaurants, retailers, people who dash, people who deliver, or it would positively impact those audiences. And if it negatively impacts, it's like, here's why, and here's what we'd like to change, or here's why this bill is something, or this proposed law is something that really should not take effect. And if it's positive, I advocate for, yes, this is something that's brilliant for these audiences, and it would stir economic development. It would stir opportunities for barriers of access to work to be removed, or it would allow for opportunities for consumers to get greater products and help those that are immunocompromised or might have transportation barriers or might be caregivers or single parents who just want things delivered to their house. It's no longer a convenience item. A lot of folks use DoorDash for a plethora of reasons, and I'm here to just help to make sure that the lights stay on.
I love that. What an interesting job to have, especially in that industry where it's like in the last 10 years, DoorDash has blown up. And you're right, it's not just for food delivery anymore. And I imagine that you're thinking about what benefits do Dashers get? What are they entitled to if they, something happens to them when they're out delivering? So that's pretty cool that you get to do that. And like you mentioned, really the meat of today's episode is going to be talking about lobbying for women's health. So Tina is recently in remission. Let me know if I'm misspeaking on any of this, Tina, but you were diagnosed with breast cancer 2 years ago?
January of 2024. So yes. Yeah.
That's wow.
Almost 2 years. Yeah.
That's crazy. So yes. And then recently newly in remission as of what date?
As of June.
Let's go.
Woo-hoo. Yeah. Woohoo.
Huge. And let us tell you, as two good friends of Tina here on the call, she is such a champ, so much grace through this whole journey. And we're really excited to hear you talk a little bit more about that. But also, maybe we start on the lobbying front since we just got a good background into what you do, this being Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Is there something that you want people to be aware of in terms of lobbying for women's health, just anything that you feel strongly about?
I think, obviously, I went through a year and a half of treatment. I'm in remission right now. And so that looks like 5 years is when after 5 years of, no reoccurrence, no problems, you're kind of, out of the gates and you're in really good shape. So still kind of keeping an eye on things, making sure that we're moving in the right direction, but just a great achievement. And thank you so much. This is a shout out to not just you guys, the rest of the Canton girls, my family in Ireland, my family here, my friends, my work colleagues, everyone has just been absolutely freaking phenomenal. And also, more importantly, my husband and my in-laws as well. It really does truly take a village, and we'll kind of chat about that today as well. But going through this treatment so intimately has really raised so many different policy issues to me that I think really definitely need to be looked into. And I know we have organizations like the American Cancer Society and the Breast Cancer Society as well, and Susan G. Komen Society, et cetera. And I'm sure they're working on all of these, but this is Tina's hot take. As someone who loved her hair and as someone who had beautiful long locks, going through a diagnosis like this, that was something that you had to recognize that you were going to lose. And one of the big things that they offer for you as someone who's undergoing breast cancer treatment is called scalp cooling. And that's something that essentially this helmet that you put on your head that freezes your hair follicles during your chemo appointment, and you wear that your whole chemo appointment. For me, I wore it 45 minutes before I started chemo, and then I wore it for the almost 3 hours that I was going through chemo, and then I did a 90-minute cool down as well. So you're in this for a number of hours.
Right.
It freezes your eyeballs. It feels like your eyeballs are going to pop out. It feels like you're on Mount
Oh, that's
Everest.
hard.
It's just a really uncomfortable and painful thing to go through. However, there are many benefits to it. Chemo is very toxic, and since it, can lead to alopecia, permanent hair loss, it's definitely an opportunity to use this to kind of regrow the hair follicles pretty fast after you lose the hair. So
Interesting.
Oh.
when you take off it at the end of the session, there's icicles on your whatever is left of
Oh.
your hair. It makes everything so cold, and you do that every time you have chemo. So I did it for 6 rounds. So for 6 months, 6 times I put that on, and it actually made my hair grow back, as you can see. I know folks that are listening obviously can't, but it made it grow back like crazy. Did I look
Wow.
like Gollum for a little bit? Yep, I did. Did I look like Friar Tuck? Yes. Joe Dirt, you name it. But I made it out, and I'm in the mullet phase, and it's a scientific, device that is just phenomenal. And the problem though is that it is not covered by insurance. And
Mm.
so if you cannot afford $2,500, then you cannot afford this treatment. And so it obviously allows you to maintain some sense of dignity. It is a painful thing to do. You get over it after a while. A little Ativan helps, and some Tylenol and Motrin, but it's an opportunity to help you get your life back on track. And so after the 6 months of using it, my hair was starting to grow back pretty much as soon as I was losing it, which was
Wow.
great to see. So there was areas that were still hanging on while new areas were growing in, and the loss had already happened. So
Amazing.
as I think about going through this process, scalp cooling, and having that covered by insurance to allow people to access that is huge. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, last year signed it into law officially that insurance companies in New York did have to cover scalp cooling for breast cancer patients. So
Wow.
that's something I
Wow, that's
think
good.
that's huge. And of course, like, people can say it's vanity, but it's dignity at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
no.
I think
Yeah.
that, losing your hair, it's something that's so like core to a lot of women and their identity. And I feel like I mean, obviously I can't imagine, but I would imagine that going through this, like you're saying, as you're losing some hair, seeing some other hair grow in, like that must have also been an emotional like boost. I would think, right?
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
seeing kind of the other side symbolically through some of your hair starting to regrow. I love that.
Absolutely. And I think, another kind of component which I've thought about too is you do not get a mammogram until you're 45 in America. I was diagnosed at 33. And there's
Mm.
multiple reasons why I've been told why women don't get mammograms till they're 45. One of the biggest culprits is insurance, right? So insurance companies would have to cover 10 more years of a population, for mammograms. I know a lot of the time younger women who are our age and younger have dense breasts. So they say that mammograms aren't going to be showing up more clear or as clear, and they might not be as effective. But having the opportunity to have a mammogram at a younger age, that's a policy change that needs to happen. It's not something that
Mhm.
insurance companies are going to take on their own. That needs advocacy as well. And so, if there was an opportunity to have a mammogram earlier, would we have found the stage 3 breast cancer that I had? Yeah, we would have,
Right.
or breast ultrasounds. That is definitely another way in order to kind of see what the lymph nodes look like, if there are tumors, if there are masses of concern. That's kind of another policy change that I've thought about. And my biggest, and we'll get into kind of recommendations and thoughts too, but if a great aunt, if a third cousin, if a grandmother has had breast cancer, let your PCP know, let your OBGYN know, because that automatically triggers a mammogram for you. And so
Wow.
that is something to keep in mind. Even if it seems like crazily distant, that's something that you should totally advocate for yourself. And then I think the last thing, like in terms of lobbying that needs to be done in this sector, is IVF. For myself, I had 10 days to do IVF before I started chemo. And after that, there was no opportunity, and there will be no opportunity for me to
Wow.
get any eggs. And that was not covered by insurance. Even though I had a cancer diagnosis, it was not
Wow.
covered by insurance. And so I think that's another thing that we should really think about, and folks should think about it as we look at oncofertility and, covering that for cancer patients as well. So yeah, that's my thoughts, really deep on lobbying. And, for myself, I come from a long professional history of being an advocate, obviously working at DoorDash for the last 5 years. I did immigration and labor issues before that. And before that, I worked at a lobbying firm in Beacon Hill in Boston for 5 years, representing telecom, banking, insurance, higher ed, nonprofits. So being an advocate has always been ingrained in me. And so as I now have gone through this own personal process, advocacy comes front and center in terms of your physical health and your mental health. And it's just like what TSA says, like, see something, say something.
Yeah.
As soon as you see something that just does not seem right, say something about it and fight like frickin' hell to get an appointment. I had to go through ZocDoc because I could not
What's
get an
that?
OB. ZocDoc is an online sort of scheduling website. So you can actually find doctors they'll just put on their own times and dates that they're available instead of trying to call up, MGH or the Brigham and trying to call up a PCP office to say, like, what times do you have, and getting an email back on trying to schedule through like AI or a chat bot. It's an opportunity to see PCPs or OBGYNs or optometrists or whatever it may be that are putting it out there transparently, what times they're available, and scheduling through that platform. Fight like hell to get an appointment once you see something, and being your best advocate is the most important part of this process.
Me and Brittany talk about that all the time, that like with your health, you have to be an advocate so much. And I think it's something that you don't necessarily grow up knowing. You kind of just
Totally
trust the system or whatever, but you really do. So I think that's so important. I remember when you were going through that with the IVF and the speed at which it had to happen. It wasn't something I had thought about. And it's just like, it's a whole nother thing, an emotional thing that you have to kind of go through on top of what you're already going through. And I think a lot of people don't even realize that that's going to be another factor. So it's good to just, know that that's also something that you definitely kind of have to jump on right away. And I think that was another thing, Brittany, I'm sure you'll agree with me. You really took care of everything quickly. Like you jumped on getting your treatment and everything set up incredibly quickly. And that just speaks to the fact that like you have to advocate for yourself and try to get that appointment. So maybe you want to get into that a little bit, like, when you first saw that something might be wrong.
For sure. And I'm going to use humor here because it is kind of a little bit of a funny story, and it involves caviar and oysters.
Oh my God, amazing.
boy.
Buckle up, okay?
What an extravagant
Yeah, right?
I know.
start.
Guess that.
So I'm going to take you guys back to October of 2023, right? I'm fresh off like a crazy year at DoorDash. I'm traveling nonstop. We're also planning our wedding in Ireland. We've secured a venue. It's really exciting. We're about to go back to Ireland late October for my cousin's wedding, and also just to like do our tasting, meet with vendors, hotels, all that jazz. And a few days before we leave, I'm in Washington, D.C. for a trip with DoorDash with my team. We're kind of planning for the next year. I go out, I have some oysters, and leads to caviar and French fries, few
Sure.
drinks. I've never had caviar before. I'm like, why not? Let's go for it. Tina goes back to the hotel. She's like, whew, I am exhausted. And I go to sleep and I wake up about an hour later and I am ill. I mean, the hangover hits fast, right?
Been there.
Yep, been there, and we got like whatever sort of drinks happening, food, everything. And I get violently ill. And I say, okay, girl, done with, out of your system, take a shower, freshen up. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's when I just feel my chest. And I'm watching myself and I feel a bump right next to my clavicle, underneath my clavicle. Like, that's weird. I've never felt that before. And that night before I got out, I put moisturizer all over my body, like big Aveeno girl. If you don't have the Aveeno oil or Aveeno deep moisturizer, go get it. It's amazing. So, go to bed. Next day, wake up. I keep on feeling that bump. I'm like, that's really strange. I go to Ireland and it's still kind of just, that bump is still there.
Still thinking about it.
Still thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I'm in Ireland. So I'm here for the next week. We get home and then there's 2 days before we leave for Florida for Eric's cousin's wedding. And mind you, I am with my husband now. We've closed on a house in October. We've moved out of South Boston. We're moving to Holbrook. My dad's doing over the house here. We're moving to Florida while my dad's doing over the house in Holbrook. So much is happening, right?
All of the things.
So you're getting married that August, right?
Getting married the next August. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you find time to go to the doctors, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking this just doesn't seem right. And I ask my best friend, Julianne O'Connor.
Shout out Jules.
Shout out Jules, who's a nurse who, has done everything under the sun, and currently works, I believe, in pancreatic, which is really tough. So shout out to her. And she's like, look, because it is in your chest area, first port of call should probably be an OBGYN, right? And she's like, just because it's chest area above your breast, maybe try there. So I try for the life of me to get an appointment. My OBGYN earlier that year left the practice, and pretty much a bunch of them left the practice, went over to a new one. They're telling me we can't see you until January. Now this is October. Yeah.
Damn.
I reached back out to Tufts, who I had seen an OBGYN there before too. They say February. So I'm like, I did not think anything nefarious, but I thought something doesn't seem right here. And so I go on ZocDoc.com at 11 o'clock at night and I see Dr. Alice Shin in Brookline. I'm like, God help us, Brookline, driving in that far. She has an available appointment in December, early December. So I'm like, I guess that's what I'm taking, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take that one and I'm going to go with that. And so November, this is November time period and I'm feeling fine. We're in Florida. We're doing stuff. We're this is cool. I'm working on stuff back home with Dad in Holbrook on designing the house. No symptoms, nothing. I start to notice right before I go into the appointment with Dr. Shin that there's a little bit of swelling in the right breast and the bump was above the right breast and below the clavicle. I go into her and immediately she looks at it and she's like,
she knows.
She knows, but she's not
so
saying
scary.
anything to me. But she knows something. This is a random woman I've never met before. And she told me later on that night that I took the appointment, she had just released it. It was a late night. It was 11 o'clock at night.
Wow.
She's sitting at her computer. She's releasing some times that she has. And immediately she saw me take it up.
Oh my gosh. Doesn't that stuff get you goosebumps,
Yeah.
It's just so crazy.
Just
thank God.
Thank God. And so she calls over to the folks at Beth Israel at the breast clinic and they say, yeah, we can get her in the end of January. And she says, absolutely not. She needs
Good
to
for
be
her.
in next
Let's go,
week.
Dr. Shin. Let's go.
Wow.
Let's go, Dr. Alice
What a good
Shin.
one.
What a legend. This woman I never met before, never seen. She has, I'm a new patient and this woman just goes to bat for me. So then it's, I let Eric know, now my husband, my fiance, that this is happening. I say, look, I don't want to let anyone else know until we go in there, figure what's going on. And that's kind of what led to the diagnosis and to what led to an ultrasound and a mammogram at 33.
Wow. I mean, good thing you pushed for it. Like, that's crazy. I feel like I could see myself easily being like, oh, well, they don't have appointments till February, so I just guess I'll just wait it out. But like,
I think a lot of people probably do. And I think there's
yeah,
maybe a level too of people, not you don't always want to know. It's
right.
a
Yeah,
little
that's what
bit
I
of
mean.
that too,
Yeah.
maybe. But if anything, yeah, like let's take away from that to if you what'd you say, send something, say something, like get in
Yeah.
there and yeah, shout out Dr. Shin. She's a legend. I mean, speaking of Eric, you brought him up a couple of times. Eric is so sweet, like literally the nicest dude. How did that affect your relationship? Like, is there anything that you really discovered about each other maybe you didn't know before?
The world was our oyster. We just bought our first house. We were like
Yeah.
living temporarily in Florida. So cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. We were planning our international wedding. We were talking about getting pregnant right after the wedding. And we were doing great in our careers. It just was, I think back to those moments and, wow, we just felt like we were just walking on water and we were
Mm.
untouchable. And life has a way of just smacking you in the face or the tits,
Yeah.
either way. It just has a way of doing that. And I will say, everything you said about him is absolutely true. And I will say, so many people, including myself, said to him, "You didn't sign up for this. And you don't have to sign up for this." And that infuriated him because he said, "I love you so much. I'm going to marry you. This is never even a choice."
Right.
Yeah.
Any man who says, "I didn't sign up for this," or who thinks it's a choice was never really in love to begin with. And that was
Yeah.
his philosophy. And to hear that was so profound, but just gave me so much peace.
Yeah.
And I never in a million years thought he would ever say, like, "Yeah, I didn't sign up for this, bye." But I wanted to give him the opportunity because I knew what I was going to be putting on him and
Yeah.
what roller coaster I was going to be putting him through. And that's one of the things that we work on as a couple is with my diagnosis, I feel very guilty on the burden that I place on my family, my friends, and now my husband. And, you know, that burden is something that those who love me tell me that it's not a burden. It's just a responsibility of being in your life and
Mhm.
and in being and loving you. And that's hard for me because I feel like as being such an independent woman,
Yeah.
it's been hard to let Eric take care of me
Yeah.
and do everything above and beyond because he is willing to go to the ends of the earth to do anything for me. And it's been hard for me to let go of that independence and ask for help and say, like, yes, please help me on this. And so I think I learned from this whole experience is, yes, I am so strong. I am a warrior. I've always been independent, but that there's so many people out there in my circle that want to help, including my husband, including his family, my friends, etc., colleagues, friends of friends. And then I also learned is that, like, even though things were overwhelming for me and I wanted to isolate and just kind of shut down and just keep my head down, keep focused, do what I needed to do, people needed to see me and needed to hear from me so that they could feel at peace. And
Mhm.
so that was one of the big things that I learned from this as well. But in terms of Eric, he's my angel on earth.
Oh.
He stabbed me with IVF injections for 10 days straight. They had him mixing cocktails. He had never done a needle before. He pulled it out horrible the first time. He learned thereafter. He drained my tubes, every time I
Yeah.
had surgery, cleaned my bandages, left me in the bathroom for hours. We only have one bathroom in our house. So that man
Mhm.
would go to McDonald's to go to the bathroom
He's
Oh.
a
because
champ.
I was in the bathroom so long. And then when I would come out crying and my hair was falling out, he would be there with a big hug and those beautiful, beautiful Ryan Gosling eyes, those gorgeous blue eyes, steel blue eyes. And he was just there for the 2 a.m.s, the 2 p.m.s, around the clock, everything. And I count my blessings every day that I found him.
Yeah.
Well, Tina, I'm so
Yeah.
happy for
That's
you.
awesome.
He's such an
Yeah.
amazing guy. I mean, I feel like the feeling of feeling guilty, I'm sure there's so many other people that feel
I
that
totally get
way.
that.
It's
I feel
it's
like I would
hu-
feel like that for sure.
but then at the same time, like, of course, you shouldn't feel that way too. It's like one of those things that's like an emotion you almost can't help but feel, but you also, the people who
Yeah.
love you are like, you don't feel like that. Like, we want to help you. But yeah, I think a lot of people will relate to that. What is your favorite thing about him?
I would say his humor. We
Love that.
He uses a lot of dark humor. We used a lot of dark humor. And that's what got us through this. I mean, everyone said, you guys are so strong. People said this will either make you or break you as a couple. And it made us. And we're so proud of
Totally.
that. But we use so much dark humor. And I mean, the laughter that would come out of me when I'd after be bawling my eyes out and my hair was falling out, or bleeding from the ass from hemorrhoids, from all the constipation from the chemo meds, or my toenails were falling off, or my eyelashes were falling
Wow.
off,
Oh my God.
or my chest was full of rashes from all the medicine, or
Right.
the whatever, the bruising, it's so many nausea, whatever it was. And I would walk out, and we had this pipe dream. He was like, listen, Tuna. That's what he calls me. A tuna melt, tuna. He said, the prettiest creature of the sea, he calls me.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed.
We'll go to Turkey, he said, after all this is done. And he said, I'm going to get hair plugs and you're going to get hair plugs. And that's what we're going to do for our honeymoon.
Amazing.
And like,
Yes.
that was our dream. We're like, okay,
Amazing.
we're going to Turkey and we're getting hair plugs. Because if you don't know out there, if you look on social media, everyone goes to Turkey to get hair plugs. So we're like, okay,
Oh,
great. Like
I gotta tell
that.
Chris that.
Yeah, that was reassuring. I mean, and just his pep talks, but his humor. And sometimes he'd be like, oh, Barbara Bush, depending on what my hairstyle looked like, Gollum, Joe Dirt, whatever it was. Like, we just use laughter to really just get through everything.
The Joe Dirt
I feel like
reference kills me because I have not seen that movie in literally 20 years or
Right.
whatever.
Do you remember the
Same.
cover of that DVD though, or that VHS, right? When he has the
Him
mop and he has like the
standing.
mullet. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't
Yes.
think I remember, but
Oh, girl, you got to Google that.
What were
I
you
know
going
the
to say,
name.
Britt?
Oh, I was gonna say it resonates with me that you're like, I felt like I was such a burden on people because I feel like I would be the exact same way. But like on the flip side, it probably made Eric feel good to be able to like do all of that. You know what I mean? Because it's like the worst feeling when you like, know someone is sick or someone's lost someone close to them or whatever, and you just want to help them so bad. You're like, I would
Yes.
literally walk to California if it would solve your problems, but like there's nothing you can do. So I'm sure though that it was like, helpful for him too to feel like he was making a difference.
100%. And like, not speaking for him, but one of his biggest things that he's mentioned is he's like, I wish I had the diagnosis. He said that would be easier. He
Yeah.
said for him, because he's just on the sidelines here.
Yeah.
And, he's like, I wish I could just take it from you. And my family always said that. Like, I wish we could take it
Yeah.
from you, because like you noted, like being a caregiver, it is not for the weak, and I've done it, with my parents through surgeries and through diagnoses, and we've all been there in a capacity for people that we love. And it does not go unnoticed by me how much caregivers, put into this and eat, live, and breathe this because of the love they have for someone. But like you noted, like he always said, like being on the sidelines is so difficult because he
Yeah.
wants to fix the world, but there's only so much control that we have. And so we're lucky and grateful that we're past like a really, really big point. And, leading into some of the other things I think we're going to talk about is like, this diagnosis, it doesn't end, right? We're in remission, but I go in for another surgery in a few weeks. It's a pretty big one, pretty nasty one, 8 hours under
Whoa.
anesthesia, and then 2 to 3 days in hospital and an 8-week recovery. So, even though I'm in remission and even though chemo's done, the work still continues. And so I think that's kind of what folks think, like, it's done, it's over with. but it's whether it's another surgery or whether it's one pill a day to keep the estrogen low so the cancer doesn't come back and feed on it, or whether it's an injection in my ass every 3 weeks to keep me in menopause, right? Again, because my cancer, which I should have spoken about earlier, is impacted based off hormones. So, having, functioning ovaries and having a period emits hormones that my cancer feeds off of. So, I'm in an artificial menopause for the next 7 to 10 years.
I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, so
Yeah.
the work still continues. And I think that's kind of a notion that folks think just because treatment's quote unquote done, the work continues. And so one of the things I wanted to note is like continue to give folks grace because even though the big milestones are done, there's still so many small
Yeah.
bits as part of this process. And that's another thing that Eric always says is small bites or else you'll choke.
Mm.
So we've
I like
taken,
that.
the toxic chemo, the TDM1 chemo, we did that. We did the mastectomy. I did the radiation. I did like the year extra of the other chemo. I did the reconstruction, like small bites. And so we've taken all those small bites and we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to do that with humor and hope that folks continue to give grace.
I would imagine if someone maybe is newly diagnosed and going through this, that'd be a comforting thought. It's hard, I'm sure, to think of. I'm sure when you first, I mean, even still now, right? Like it feels big when you look at it as a whole, but if the small bites mentality, like it's really helpful just to
I'm
Taking
a
it day by
planner.
day.
I'm
yeah.
a planner. When I got diagnosed, I'm like, okay, wait a second.
Yeah.
I need a schedule. What does
Yeah,
this
right.
look
Yeah.
like? What's next? What's next? What's next? And, you know, as great as a team can be, your care team can be, they don't want to overwhelm you, and so I
Yeah.
had a fantastic team that at some points I disagreed with, how slow they were feeding me information on next steps. And then at some points I did agree, right? Because they've been there before with so many other people and, people will choke. And as you said too, Coco, like some people don't want to know. They
Right.
don't want to get the diagnosis or they don't want to know what's coming next. For a planner like me, I'm like, I need a calendar. I need to
Yeah.
understand what are
I'd
my
want to know.
mile
Yeah.
marks and how can I achieve these?
Where's our
Because
checklist?
I'm going to be a
Yep.
higher performer here and I'm results driven. So just give me the tasks and let me go.
Yeah. I want to kind of touch back on something like, just what you're saying, right? About it's ongoing, give people grace. Obviously, we talked about all the support that you receive from your husband, but also your friends and family. I think one of the things that we as friends, because we have had friends go through a lot of things and a lot of trauma. And Brittany already mentioned it, but it's so hard when you want to be supportive and say the right thing and do the right thing. And that's all you really want. And sometimes you don't know how to best show up for someone. So maybe if there's someone who's listening who has a friend or family member going through a diagnosis, is there
Mm.
anything that you would recommend that they do to support their loved one, or like maybe something that someone did that stuck out to you? I'd just be curious to hear it.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think, well, first off, this crew, the Canton crew, did a phenomenal meal train, which we had to kind of say, like, slow down a little bit. There's so much food. There was so much food. So, like, never underestimate a phenomenal meal train, right? I think, fresh food, of course, but also stuff that can be frozen. For
Mm.
instance, like my aunt came out from Ireland and she made a bunch of quiches and then cut them up into 2 slices at a time and then saran wrapped it and put it into a container in the freezer for us so that like
Oh.
throughout the next few weeks as I went into my mastectomy last year, I could bring out like 2 slices of quiche for Eric and I, right? She also made Guinness brown bread and
Oh,
sliced it, right? Amazing, amazing
Wow.
recipe. Sliced it up so that was like 4 slices at a time in a container so that we could bring it out. Stews and stuff like that, granola, homemade granola with like
mm.
nutritious nuts and granola in it, not a lot of artificial stuff, like something that can be frozen to fresh food that's delivered or that people are making is great, but frozen stuff is really helpful. So I'm so spoiled in that respect. But one of the things that the folks did at DoorDash that I found really helpful was a Lyft gift card.
Mm.
So a gift card for
Hmm.
Lyft because there are so many appointments that you go to. And there are times in which you're given medicine that you can't drive home from. So, for
Mhm.
instance, like, did I necessarily need someone at every chemo? I didn't. I did 5 chemos myself because I was like, I just need a moment, just to like be here rather than like kind of entertaining someone with you at chemo. But
Yeah.
I had Ativan in me, so I couldn't drive home from that. But the ability to take a lift, or for instance, getting radiation 5 days a week for 6 weeks. So
Wow.
I got that at South Shore Hospital, which was 13 minutes away from me, getting a lift back and forth from there if I felt too weak to drive, right? And that took a burden off of Eric or my family or his family or my friends. So a rideshare gift card, definitely. And then not like I'm promoting my own company, but DoorDash or Instacart or Uber Eats, you cannot expect what you will need at like an ungodly hour,
Mm.
whether it is a laxative, whether it is like antidiarrheal medicine, whether it is bandages for your wounds, whatever it may be, you're going to need that last mile delivery. And your caretaker, like leaving you is like, or a
Mm.
thermometer. Like one night we were like, the thermometer didn't work. Eric just door dashed the thermometer. Boom. Like I
Mm.
was boiling. It was after
Totally.
chemo. Like I didn't look healthy. He's like, he door dashed it. Right. So I would say like gift cards to any of those is always helpful. And then, the outreach in my situation was just so phenomenal. It became a little overwhelming. It was,
Mm.
calls, voicemails, text messages, emails, Instagram messages, Facebook messages, WhatsApp
Yeah.
messages, which was so amazing. And I think one of the best pieces of advice or the best comment that was given to me was by our friend Casey. And she had said, like, there's no need to respond. Stop apologizing for
Mm.
not responding
Yeah.
so fast or
Yeah.
taking a few weeks to respond. Because, like, little did folks know I was doing chemo and radiation at the same time, right? I was doing chemo, radiation, and recovering from a mastectomy at the same time. And seeing all those were so great. But every time I responded, I felt the need to update everyone on what was happening.
Yeah.
And then I was reliving everything over and over and over and over
Mm.
again. And I think that was a great piece of advice. So, in terms of, what can folks do? Folks can, promote that kind of notion that like it's okay to not respond to me right away. And Heather had mentioned the same thing too. And like you mentioned, like our whole friend group has been through some unfortunately wicked things in our lives. And I think we all come from a place where we do give each other grace from those experiences, but just because naturally we're all very empathetic people.
Mhm.
That's great
It's true.
though. I mean, it's like good. And that's so true. Like, obviously, you're going through so much. Definitely give that grace and let people respond or not respond at their own
Yeah.
time. But
I don't even like my birthday when I have 10 million people texting me. So
Or when
I
you see
can't
like the
imagine if I
Facebook
was like
posts, you're like, okay,
sick.
I gotta like those all immediately.
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
like, gotta respond to all this.
Anything like just anything else that you would want to share in terms of prevention, detection? I thought what you mentioned in the beginning about making sure, like, if you have a family
Yeah.
member history, that's not something I ever thought of. But anything that you want to share for that so that people can get checked out.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to say that my cancer was not genetic. So I did not have the BRCA gene, which growing up, I feel like we all heard that, oh, in order to have breast cancer, you have to have the BRCA gene. No one in my
Mhm.
family ever had breast cancer. So I was like, great, I don't have to worry about that. That's
Yeah.
not true. And it's not to be a fear tactic, but it's to be a cautionary tale in which I share this is that, whether it's 23andMe and you want to do some genetic testing there for the
Oh,
BRCA gene, that's
interesting.
something that you can control. Whether it's like sitting down and having that conversation with your parents of like, are we sure that no one has had
Yeah.
breast cancer, right? Or whether it's, talking to your OBGYN and saying like, I would like an ultrasound, right? And requesting that and seeing kind of where you get. I think one of the things that my mother-in-law pointed out to me is that she had seen a van, like a satellite medical van, and I believe it's called like the Her campaign.
Okay.
And essentially, they give ultrasounds to really anyone who wants them, any female who wants them, breast ultrasounds. It's out of pocket, so it's $200. So you can actually get a breast ultrasound at 35, at
Amazing.
36, if your insurance company through your OB/GYN or your primary care is not going to cover it. And it's definitely something that I will find the link to so that you guys can kind of include in a post about the podcast for further information. But that's a traveling van that goes around because there is such like a gap in access, for this. And with women being like increasingly diagnosed with breast cancer at a younger age, or actually colorectal cancer, colon cancer as well. It's hitting young people at an alarming rate, within our age bracket. It's just so important to try to find these preventative measures. And I tested negative for 70 cancer genes. So I may never know how this cancer started. I may never know how it came about. I donated all my tissue, my breast tissue and the tumor tissue, everything, my lymph nodes, to research, to hope that someday, somehow, we will find out how this started and it can help the girls before me so that they don't have to do 6 weeks of radiation. They don't have to do the mastectomy. They don't have to do a year of TDM1, 6 months of TCHP. At some point, hopefully it will help others. But that's kind of my thought process on, if you want to kind of get ahead of things, definitely some genetic testing, 23andMe, make sure you don't have the BRCA gene, talk to your family, learn a little bit more about your family history. And then also like advocate with your PCP, OB/GYN, and I'll send around some information on that, Her satellite mobile.
Yeah, we can put it in the description. That's awesome though. And I feel like go to the doctor, like get a physical.
Go to the
every
doctor.
year.
Go
Yeah,
to the
go to the
doctor.
doctor.
Go to the doctor. Blood work too. Your blood work is important, right? And also be mindful of your hormones too. That you see all these things about women having PCOS, endometriosis, right? Be mindful of your hormones. How are your periods looking, and how are you feeling? What are you eating? How are you exercising? All those play into account. How are you dealing with stress, cortisol, right? How are you dealing with anxiety? All that plays into how your body functions. So self-care, girls, self-care.
I just have to say, like literally, Tina, people are gonna walk away from this episode being like, that girl is a fucking boss. Like you are just
badass bitch.
Yeah, so impressive. Like everything
So
you
well
shared,
versed.
so well versed.
Yeah.
You've taught me a lot on this call. Like
Yay.
honestly, you're the shit.
Thank you guys for having this. I'm so excited that this podcast is happening. And I have so much to catch up on. I really do. So I can't wait to hear the last few episodes. We just got a dream squad of friends. Let's just be honest about that too.
It's true.
But I was saying, I feel like I'm on the toast, the skim. So
Our inspo.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to continue to support this, and thank you guys for having me on. This is awesome. And also let's recognize that we've known each other for like a minute. We've known each other for like
I don't even know how long.
Decades.
like decades, right?
Yeah.
At least, right? Yeah, middle school. You were Hanson people, right?
We were Hanson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You guys were the cool school. I was JFK.
We were the cool school.
Bonnie and I were in the same school, so it's fine.
But so if you have to catch up on the pod, just so you know, the last couple of episodes have been TS12 heavy. I know Brittany is itching to hear your take.
I really want to hear your thoughts. Yeah.
So
just real quick.
We need to finish with some Taylor talk. What do we think of the new album? What are some of our favorite songs?
Okay, first off, whenever a Taylor album comes out, I have to listen. I listen first, right? I don't try not to form an opinion. I will say, and this is going to be pretty divisive.
Okay.
The last few albums, I've had a hard time connecting. What I do find is that I tend to connect like years later with an album that I might have not liked originally. like Lover,
See
right?
that.
Like when that first came out, I was like, I don't know about this. I was not in the headspace to be
Yeah.
open to Lover, right? Where I was
Sure.
in my own personal life. And now I'm like, oh, like some great bops. Like I love this. Like, how come I
Mhm.
didn't listen to this? So first go around, I listened to it yesterday on the plane back from Florida. And I was like, okay, okay, okay. I also like looked at all the criticism that people have been saying about like,
Hmm.
lyrics, sound, quality of storytelling, etc. I've since listened to it like 5 times.
Give or take.
On repeat. I was just walking around Seaport last night, just bopping
You
around
can't
to
not
it.
dance.
Can't not dance, can't not dance. Now, I am a Red Reputation Fearless 1989
Mm.
girl, right? So
Mhm.
that's my vibe.
Mhm.
Do I get those songs from this album? Not yet. I'm definitely open to continuing to listen and like see if I get that vibe, but like I yearn, I long for like the memory of those songs, right? And I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I'm there just yet. I think there's some interesting like the girls like quoting Shakespeare with Ophelia. Love it, right?
Yeah.
Elizabeth Taylor, an icon, a moment, a legend. She's like literally speaking to the spirit saying like, Lizzie, is this real? Is this going to work out? Like, is this the right choice?
Right.
The father figure, I love that because like I had heard that she always kind of wanted to be that person
Like a
and
mentor.
be a mentor, right? And I think she has been, to Sabrina and to a bunch of other folks as well.
Totally.
But also she's had, she's been on the receiving side of someone who's been a
Mhm.
father figure and kind of seen how the music industry, how that all plays out. I think it's an interesting perspective. Eldest daughter, clearly I'm the eldest daughter. So I find
Can
that,
I just say that's
yeah.
also a very strange little like tidbit about our group of friends. I'm pretty sure, and I'm sorry to whoever I'm gonna get wrong on this. I think I am the
I
like
was,
only youngest daughter
I
in
was
this whole
just gonna
crew.
say, wait a
Yeah.
second. Wait, does Mish have?
Mish.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mish has the okay. All right, yeah.
But
What's up,
I
Mish?
think everyone else is eldest daughter. Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. It's crazy. You guys are just out here,
Yeah. Damn.
literally holding it down for us younger siblings.
Yeah.
Fucking sucks.
I'm telling you, it's the weight on your of the world on your shoulders. And
Yeah. Don't do
that
it if you
goes
don't have
back
to.
to like also dealing with this diagnosis of like you're the eldest daughter, so you're so used to just like
Yeah.
taking stuff on. And then I'm like, ooh, what? Like, I'm the weakest link
What?
here. What is this?
Mm,
I'm down for the count. And that's
Yeah.
when you have other people step up, and lean in and step up for you because you can't be carrying the team. But yeah, I love that. I mean, I gotta dig a little bit deeper into like the actually romantic. Like,
Mm.
what? That was like
Yeah.
Charlie XCX,
Charlie
right?
XCX, stand down.
Classic Taylor.
Yes.
I was
Yes.
like, it gives me a little reputation vibe, so I like
Yeah.
that. I who's calling Wood like scandalous? I'm sorry, the girl is talking about her man and she's flaunting it. So like, go for it. Like, let's
Yeah.
just say when you look at him, you know that he looks like a Greek god. So I think we all knew that he's an amazing
Lover.
partner.
He's a
Yeah,
yes.
lover, lover. I would
I
say partner. Yes,
I do think that Sabrina had inspired her because Sabrina's latest albums were
Yeah.
so sexual. I think it might have given Taylor a little bit of that push to be like, you can do it too.
very much
Totally.
so. And also the graphics, I'm sorry, like are
Thank
gorgeous.
you. I
Oh
agree.
yeah. Well, it
Gorgeous.
was the guy who did the Reputation shoot,
Yeah, oh, was it?
Right.
Okay, because I knew it was the producers that did
1989.
1989, which I loved that sound. So, but yeah, like word is still out on like how I feel about the overall album, like one of my favorite favorites. I'm still
Yeah.
digging
Too
in.
soon.
But I saw this thing on Instagram and it's this guy, I'm gonna send it to you guys, but this comedian and he pretends to be each Taylor album
Mm.
and they're like, look, like take it slow. There's a lot of inbound criticism. 3 years from now, you're going to be the favorite thing, And then you have like tortured poets department being like, or maybe not. Maybe you won't be the favorite, Maybe you'll be
Yeah.
like me. And then you have, reputation being all like moody and being like, well, you can't be like me because I'm the favorite always, Or so I
Honestly.
think
Cute.
it's an interesting story and journey that Swifties go on, and I'm on that journey right now.
Buckle up.
Yeah,
Let's
We're
buckle
go.
up.
I love it.
What about you guys?
Spoken like a true Swiftie.
I have two very clear favorites, and I really think that they're like much above the rest of the album for me. I love Opalite. I love Fate of Ophelia.
Great calls. Yep.
Yeah, my favorites are Wishlist, Honey, and Canceled, and probably Opalite. Opalite and Canceled are kind of tied right now. But yeah, I feel like, I mean, my hot take is she might have overhyped it a little bit.
Yeah.
But like maybe she was just saying like, this is my favorite album, and I was taking that as, oh, it will be my favorite album too. But I can see why it's her favorite album.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
don't know
the
if
thing.
it will be my favorite album. Time will tell.
And she's in this point of her life where she is like on a high. And
Right,
you
yes.
can definitely like hear that in, you know, a lot of the songs too. But when I'm looking back, I feel like Reputation and Adele 25, those two albums, like I yearn for the feelings of those two albums whenever I listen to an album, you know, whoever it may be. And I just like lyrically, and then also just the sound of those two, I just really loved. And I'm always searching for that. So I'm not sure I give everyone a fair shake. But
I know it's hard to judge.
It's hard to judge, but I'm excited to listen more.
Well,
I
give
love
us those
it.
vault tracks, Taylor.
Seriously. We
I
gotta get that
know.
Rap Vault out
I bet
here.
they're gold.
Oh, 100.
Because a lot of them before have been like Message in a Bottle. I'm like, okay, this is
It's a
like,
bop.
yeah, it's a little bit
The
pop. Like,
1989 ones are.
yeah.
Is It Over Now is like one of my top 5 Taylor songs all time. So if we could get even one of those gems, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
Same.
And at this point in my life too, I said the other day, because people were talking about it, I'm like, I have not had a chance to listen. I was like, I need this. I need this right now. So like, do not fail me, Tay. So yeah.
She won't.
Thank you guys for the chit chat. This was so great.
Thank you so much for coming on, Tina. You dropped some knowledge. I'm sure everyone loved this episode. We really appreciate you taking some time out and chatting with us. We are going to be back on Friday with a regularly scheduled programming, just Britt and I. We're going to talk Dancing with the Stars, per usual. And that's our new show we're watching. Although I am recently starting Love is Blind season 9. And
I'm not watching Love is Blind. Sorry.
Don't you worry. I
tell
will
you that right now.
I will give my thoughts. Oh, also submit on our website if you have any problems that you have. Yeah, snitch sessions. We can talk about some of those on Friday.
And make sure to like us, follow us, comment at us at snitchinpod on TikTok and Instagram. Tell everyone you know about us. And yeah, thanks, Tina. You are awesome and just such an inspiration to all of us. So I hope everyone listens to this episode. Everyone in the world.
Everyone in the world. That's what we're shooting for.
Love you guys. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to see this podcast grow. And thanks for being just phenomenal friends.
Love you.
I know. You guys, we're so great. Bye, everybody.
Cry. Bye.
Bye.